Welcome, everybody. Let's begin with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, greatest friend, beloved God, great masters and gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved Swami Kriyananda Ji, we humbly bow and invite your divine presence in this satsang and in every moment of our lives. Fill us with your consciousness as we face life's experiences. Help us raise our consciousness and see the larger rhythms, the larger reality, the larger picture of life, and help us transcend bitterness through kindness, love, and wisdom. We are your children. Come to us now. Om Shanti. Just for a moment, friends, let's meditate together. About 25 of us. Let's feel we are in the presence of the masters, all gathered together in a temple. Om Shanti. Welcome once again, everybody. Last week, I had shared on the same subject as Alok mentioned of bitterness, and I had read from Swami Kriyanandaji's book on health and healing, and I'll read it again in case some of you were not there last week. It's a very beautiful, direct, and seems a little pointed remark, which is a bit hard to understand sometimes, which is why I expanded it into 2 weeks, and I'll give some more examples and further explanations that Kriyanandaji provided to overcome this contractive, painful reality of bitterness in our lives, no matter what the circumstance. Swamiji writes here, the secret of overcoming bitterness is not allowing yourself to feel that you deserve more from life than you are getting. For life will always mete out to you exactly what you earn from it. And I was telling a friend and a teacher this afternoon, actually, Dhanaji left, and we were sharing a few things. She went back to Delhi. And one of the things I was sharing her was that right here in Pune, many decades ago, I was still, I think, 6 years old, 7, 8. And I had the tendency to play and fall during playing. Everybody plays, but I fell more than others. And that definition, I understood that I'm falling more than others, getting hurt more, showing up more in the local dispensary, because the doctor would say, here you come again. And one time he said, oh, aage Rana Sangha. He said, Rana Sangha. So I was with my father. He's also a doctor. So they were friends. And he'd be like, oh, here you're coming back. And I asked my dad, who is Rana Sangha? And my dad said, oh, he was a warrior king. I don't know, I forget, but I think he said he had 20 or 60 marks above his shoulders, above his neck. So he was all scarred, you might say, with battle wounds. And I was telling Dhanaji, I had something over here. Now, fortunately, I haven't, by God's grace, fallen in many decades, the way I used to fall every now and then. But I remember when I heard that, oh, I'm showing up more over here than others, I kind of, till then I was not affected by it actually at all. And then I thought, oh my goodness, poor me, I'm falling. And, suddenly it's amazing how these waves of consciousness, Kriyanandaji said, are always around us. He would give the extreme example of suicide, for example. He said, somebody's doing just fine today. And in some moment of depression or a low consciousness, or as Master said, if they are heavily drunk, it is a reality. He said these waves of consciousness or streams of thinking, which are not yours, thoughts, any case, are not yours or mine. It is our consciousness, our level of energy that attracts a certain kind of thinking to us. In an extreme, you might say, despair, Somebody may have an idea. People have had inventions which have changed the world. But that is a rare case, as you know. Most people, when they are so far down, unfortunately they hit rock bottom before they come up. And so anyway, it was as I came home, and I remember I was feeling again just fine. There was no pain. But as I retired to my room and I tried to go to sleep, I started crying. I tried to cry, and I thought I should cry because I'm falling more than others, and I'm just falling often. And as I started crying, it was like trying to laugh. If you don't feel like laughing and you're trying to laugh, you're trying to do something which is not happening naturally. So I tried to cry, and then this strange thought came: what's wrong with you? This is exactly what you deserve. You are falling because you need to fall. There are reasons for that. And others are not falling because they don't need to fall. And crying will not make anything better. And I kind of suddenly stopped and wiped one or two tears that I had mustered to bring out. But the point was, I look back now, and there was that thought. I had always that option that, oh, I can cry. But the other thing was, why cry? Why this thought on myself, that this feeling that, oh, life is unfair to me. I'm falling more than others. This is not good. Something has to change. I have to feel sorry for myself. And I'm very glad that I remember that experience, that, uh, you know, something was trying to bring me out of it, you might say. So last time we gave the example of the saints, Chokha Mela, it was Christ, Padre Pio, Swami Kriyananda ji, master, of course, he was a master, but he had such heartbreaks on many levels, that it was hard for him to continue. He said it was only Divine Mother who finally convinced me to continue on the path of giving and sharing, especially when he had gone to the West. There were so many challenges. He didn't allow it to, and nor did the other saints. They didn't allow themselves to become bitter. And we were discussing, Kriyananda ji gave us a beautiful formula. I shared it in more detail last week. But basically, he said, when something happens which is just not making sense, he said, suspend judgment for that moment. You're emotional. Like I started feeling emotional. Oh my goodness, I've been falling and, hurting myself. And it was nobody's fault. It was my own fault, or my karma, you might say now. But then that Swami says, don't try to reason it in that moment. Why is this happening to me? Why did they do this to me? Of course, you have to take necessary measures if somebody's been unjust to you and such. But Kriyananda ji said, for that moment, life is taking you through something. Learn acceptance. That will bring you strength. If you turn bitter, reactive, you will never be able to make sense of why it is happening in the first place. And so we learned that. And then Kriyananda ji said that after you've learned that, then tell yourself, in time, sooner or later, some meaning will come out of it. And then he adds his testimony that every single time, and he went through tests, he said he could look back and see that, oh yes, there was a meaning over there. There was a lesson over there. This was necessary. And so today I want to share some more examples. One was the one I shared just now. The other was Swami Kriyananda ji said that he had a dream many years ago, which kind of, it was a recurring dream. And it was about, he had reached, in that particular life, he had given his extreme openness, loyalty, friendship to somebody, but they had misused it. And really turned extremely against him, tried to hurt him in a very profound way. And Kriyananda ji said in that dream, he saw he was at deathbed and he was bitter about it. And but he had enough wisdom in that moment to say, okay, I'm about to leave my body, but if I carry this bitterness with me, I may come back in a position where I could take revenge on this person, but then that person will be in some future incarnation, be able to take that revenge again. And you know where this is going, in karmic, like a pendulum, on from one extreme to the other. And Swami told himself, I don't want to waste all those incarnations. I forgive this person right now. And Kriyananda ji said that he woke up from that dream with a deep sense of relief. And that made him feel quite strongly that it was a past, something, a karma of past lives he had, which he felt completely freed from. And think about it, friends. What Swami was saying is, let's say, because of our own habits, actions, you've put your trust in somebody, perhaps you've developed a habit which is not exactly, let's say, healthy or good for you, and you experience grief or bitterness out of it. Kriyanandaji said, well, that's the law of karma. Life is teaching you something. But if you persist in that, because remember, every level, every experience, every level of consciousness, Kriyanandaji said, has its own magnetism. Why else would people continue doing things which are harmful to them? And so he was saying that don't linger in that feeling. You're feeling it, very quickly take your lesson, make a resolve, and try to, instead of going from one extreme to the other, because he says that's what brings about extreme grief and bitterness. He says, try to be even minded. Like Master said, circumstances are always neutral. It is your reaction to them. It is your attitude of mind, last time we discussed, Master said, that will color them one way or another. So we resolve that, okay, this didn't work, nice to know. And the moment we develop that, you might say, detachment, wisdom comes, the meaning comes. Partly you've got the meaning, which is why you have that little wisdom that, Divine Mother, thank you, I've learned my lesson from this. And actually from that, wisdom is not a dry wisdom. It is joyful, and a sense of joy comes. Oh, Mother, I forgot temporarily that this world is based on duality. I got caught for this reason or that. And now that I'm out, I'm able to see, I'm able to forgive myself, I'm able to forgive others. And Swami says that way you don't stay in that negative state of bitterness. The other example he gives is one, especially on our path, we must have heard quite often, and it helps to consciously remind ourselves of this. And it is, where is your consciousness? Swami says it is, if you're feeling like I felt self-pity, I was just fine falling around. Actually, I had a stone, I remember, in my hand, which I had cared not to tell anybody in the family till my hand became like a swollen glove. And the doctor went, he said, oh my God. And as they opened, small stones were coming out because I had fallen but not told anybody. And but then when I told myself, oh, I'm falling, poor me, why is this happening? I get hurt in all sorts of circumstances. Then my suffering increased and I started crying, as I said, whereas earlier I was just fine. And Swami said, so whether it is your own thoughts, your habits, or somebody who has hurt you, disappointed you, betrayed you unintentionally, because people may sometimes, many times, they're not able to step up. Saint Peter was not able to step up to Christ's love. Christ repeatedly told him how much he loved him, even on the night when he would be persecuted. And Peter, interestingly, promised that he would walk with him till death, into death and beyond. But he was, frankly speaking, as Master explained, the intention is good, but Master said he had no experience of those states. So how could he promise to do something which was beyond him? And so it is that it's a betrayal. And then, of course, he denied Christ, which was, some people would say, intentional. But on the other hand, what else would one do? He had not planned the betrayal. Judas's betrayal was intentional. He, as we know, he did what he did. Peter couldn't help himself. When faced with death and persecution, he simply backed off from his master. He couldn't offer the love and protection that he had thought he would always offer. So that's a betrayal. Well, Christ didn't allow. It was hurtful, of course, when your friends don't stand with you. But Christ, being a master, being wise, he forgave him. Actually, he reappeared to him and gave him the blessing a few days later of the Holy Ghost, the Om spirit, Om vibration. So let's keep that in mind, friends. Swami says that it is when your consciousness is contractive that you're thinking more about yourself. Now, it may seem natural when you're hurt to say, well, of course I have to think about myself. Somebody has hurt me. But is it really a wise thing to do? Yes, you have to take enough care, like crossing the road. If you've been, if you've been threatened by the traffic in one way or another by carelessness, you should be more careful. If people take advantage of you, don't allow that. You have to be aware enough. On the other hand, if we are thinking too much about ourselves, we sometimes miss the point that the other person is acting simply from their level of understanding. They don't know any better. What else would they do? It's like Swami said, you're feeling bad about a blind man's inability to see. They can't see beyond themselves, their circumstances, their limitations. And if you also fail or do not come out of that level of awareness, then there'll be two people suffering. Whereas if we come out of it, then Swami says, perhaps you can pray, you can offer prayers, you can be kind, you can be loving, you can be forgiving, you can actually start taking some practical steps which will really work to ensure things don't happen another time. But to again go into bitterness is to go into a contractive state of consciousness, and that's when we feel weak, and through prolonged suffering we will again in any case have to learn that lesson. So let's keep this in mind. Finally, I'll close with this story that Swami said once he was driving towards Ananda village, and it was the very beginning of the work. He was trying to raise money for the work. There were mortgages to pay. And he met a person who was hitchhiking, and he asked for help. And he told Swamiji, Swami offered him a ride. And then very soon the man brought up, he said, Sir, I actually need some money. If you tell me where you live, your address, I will definitely pay you that amount. And I don't want your faith to be shaken in humanity. And Swami pulled out his wallet and he gave the man the necessary amount of money. And Swami said, Look, uh, I stay there, but, or maybe he just gave the money. I forget. But in any case, later Swami would say that he never expected that money to come back, and it never came back. And Swami said, You see, my faith in humanity uh, I never put my faith in humanity in the first place, but I've always put my faith in life. And that's what Swami is saying over here. Life is conscious, life is aware. Because of our past, many times things happen to us in the present which seemingly don't make sense. But if we follow some of these guidelines Swami and the masters have given us, then we are able to rise from that karma, rise from that challenge. And if we don't, then Swami says that persists, and we will have to learn that lesson sooner or later. So let's keep these very practical steps in mind, because ultimately, no matter what is happening to us, we do have the ability to be calm, joyful, understanding, and accepting of others' behavior as it is, because what else would they do? Each person is uniquely trying their best in any given scenario. I would like us to think of any circumstance that has perhaps we are finding it hard to overcome, which has led to bitterness. And I would say, friends, that see in this week if you can very consciously like practice it and see those results ourselves. So let's take a moment to see the light of God around our planet. See that same light also in every individual, all children of God. And let us see their attunement to God's light, expand that light in them, bringing healing in mind, in their feelings, in their body, ultimately complete spiritual healing. Let's rub our hands together and channel Master's blessings and healing rays into this world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.